Hey guys, welcome to the first Fusion 480 build video. In this video we're going to be covering the main head assembly, basically tearing open the first bag. This is everything that you're going to see. Since we're just going to be focusing on the main head, we are going to be taking out the main gear just because we're not going to need that for a little while. Basically the three primary components that we're going to be looking at is just going to be the main shaft, the main head, and the swash plate. So if you've already built a kit before, usually they're going to come in, screws are going to be in separate bags. They're not yet going to be assembled on the main components. Blade, however, if you notice, everything's already assembled from the factory. It's basically just a matter of unscrewing them, soaking them in like denatured alcohol or acetone or anything like that, just to get all the, any grease left by the factory, anything like that. Let them soak for a little bit, and then it's just going to be reapplying them with either red Loctite or blue Loctite, depending on what the component is. Typically, I like to use red Loctite on the on these main ball links, just because it's very rare that I'm going to be taking them out. It's just nice to know that they're tight and secure. On the main head, a lot of people either use red Loctite or blue Loctite. On this one, I'm going to be using blue Loctite, just because if you're like me, you're going to be doing maintenance a lot, so you're constantly taking them out, checking them, making sure they're tight. So with what I'm doing, there's just no need to be using red Loctite. One thing that you will realize throughout this video is that I won't be using Loctite. That's just for the sake of keeping the video nice and condensed and short. Basically, take a look through your manual. I'll also be telling you what to use as far as Loctite, what I would use personally. So yeah, let's get into the main head. So once you pulled the main blade grips off the spindle shaft, you will realize that there are two spacers in between each grip and the actual hub. If you take a look, there's going to be one side that is flat, and the other side it's going to have a convex curve on it. Just make sure that convex curve is pointed towards the grips, so whenever you reassemble it, it is going to be going back on like so. So what we're going to do at this point, we're basically just going to be applying some grease or tri-flow or anything like that to the spindle shaft. Make sure, just make sure the blade grips run nice and smooth like so, on the actual spindle shaft. Okay, so next we're going to be taking a look at the main grip arms. Basically, the way these attach to the actual blade grip are just these two screws right here. You're going to be needing a 2.5 Allen wrench. So basically, you'll be, like I said, just unscrewing these two screws right here and soaking them in, denatured alcohol or acetone or anything like that to clean off the grease. One thing you also want to do is soak these ball links up at the end like so. Get those off, soak them down, and then reapply them with Loctite. Just make sure everything's nice and tight. So that's what we'll be doing in this step. Another thing to note, these ball links, they're just going to be taking a 2mm Allen wrench. That'll be used to get them on and off. Okay, so making sure everything's tight on this side, let's repeat the process for this side. So now that everything up here is nice and assembled with Loctite, everything's moving smoothly, it's time to take a look at the follower arms and how these assemble. So let's go ahead and take these off and take a closer look at them. So one of the first things I want to note about these follow arms, once you first take these off of the main hub, they are going to have a spacer on the other side of the follow arm that's going against the hub. Make sure the flat side of this spacer is against the actual hub, and this convex side, it's going to be going up against the follow arm itself. So just make sure that's assembled like so. Whenever you're retightening it with Loctite, you want to make sure that everything's going to be moving smoothly as well. Basically, these linkages right here, these are going to be assembled by 2 arms and a couple bearings within the arms, just to make sure those don't fall out and get lost. You are going to be unscrewing these, applying a little bit of blue Loctite in these, and you're going to be screwing them back in. Don't screw them in tight enough to where these are not able to move. You want them just tight enough to where these will still drop like so, moving smoothly. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. Another thing that I would like to note on these follow arms, once these are tight, these are used to also keep the main shaft in this grip. So before you fully tighten these down, just make sure your main shaft's in and your main hub. And then once that's fully seated and the bolt's in, you can go ahead and tighten these down with Loctite. One thing you want to make sure, there's also a washer on this other side of the screw. Just make sure whenever that's going back into the follow arm, it's not missing. So now that the main head is assembled, we're going to move that aside and take a look at the swash plate. Essentially, it's just, unscrewing all these ball linkages, soaking them, and then re-Loctiting them. Like I said, I like to use red Loctite with these just because I'm not taking them out. One thing that I will note on builds that I like to do is I like to leave the elevator ball link unloctited, just because it's easier to get it out if I need to lengthen or shorten the linkage rod coming from the elevator servo for leveling the swash plate. So I do like to leave this unloctited just so I can get it out easier, and I don't have to constantly bend back the anti-rotation pin bracket, anything like that. So just leave that unloctited, but be sure to Loctite it whenever you finish the build and you finish your setup. These 4 screws right here, these are already assembled by the factory. You don't have to worry about these at all. Still, just double check them, make sure they're tight, everything like that. If not, go ahead and unscrew them, add Loctite if needed, and then just screw them back in. This appears to be pre-greased by the factory, but if it does feel stiff at all, go ahead and add some grease, make sure that's loose. It allows the swash plate to move a lot easier, frees up those servos, makes them not have to work as hard. So yeah, let's go ahead and disassemble, add Loctite, and reassemble. This is a very easy step. So now that everything is all Loctited, we can go ahead and attach the main shaft to the main head. and this will complete the build for the main head section. So first, once this main shaft is all greased up, everything's moving smooth, the swash plate is moving up and down very easily like so, you can go ahead and take the main shaft, attach it into the hub, make sure the hole is lined up in the main shaft. It's actually going to be the hole that's closest to the end of the shaft. This one is used for the main gear, so just make sure this is pushed up against there. It takes a little bit of force to get it up in there, but make sure those holes are aligned. You can go ahead and grab that bolt that we took apart from earlier. So go ahead, unscrew like so, and attach it through. Doesn't matter which side. So basically we'll just line this up, get it through, and then tighten the nut on the other side. So yeah guys, just like that, the main head is complete. It's attached to the shaft and it's basically ready to go into the frame once it's assembled. So yeah, be sure to check out the next video to follow up on this build series. Stay tuned and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.